Good morning, guests. We are at the 11:45 a.m. segment of our 2020 CaliFest webinar. I'd like to introduce Keri-Anne Kiki Thombs from Jamaica. Kiki Thombs' life experiences and methods of teaching has had a lasting impact on the lives of those who hear her speak. True strength is in stillness. No one ever forces a rose to open with a hammer. You allow it to grow. Keri-Anne Kiki Thombs is a motivational book author, a journalist, and a media personality in Jamaica. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to hand you over to Keri-Anne Kiki Thombs and her presenter, Lisa Gooden. Folks, get ready to get lifted and enjoy.
Hello everyone, this is Lisa Gooden, Editor-in-Chief, CaliFest Magazine and Program for CaliFest 2020. And here I am interviewing virtually Keri-Anne Kiki Thombs, one of our esteemed authors. So Keri, tell us a little bit about your origins and family.
Hi Lisa, hi CaliFest, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here with you. So my origins, I'm originally from Kingston 3, Vineyard Town, Mountain Terrace, and my family originated from St. Elizabeth. So it's a wonderful mix of communities coming together. So that's where I'm originally from, and I went to school at St. Teresa's, later on at Holy Childhood, and then I did a few studies in the States, and then that's pretty much it for my early beginning.
So Kiki, I found your book Discovering You to be a beckoning repository of, or catch-all of many themes against the Caribbean narrative, whether abroad or back home, For example, socioeconomic, racial, gender justice inequality, teenage pregnancy, incarcerated mothers, drug trafficking, mental illness and recovery, death, religion, co-parenting versus single parenting, blended families, the social mores placed on children and young adults from the Caribbean. And then, the more promising and uplifting message of resilience, forgiveness, self-compassion, and the coping skills to achieve happiness. How did you go about writing a book like this that offers so much?
Lisa, I have gone through so many different experiences in my life, and it was very important for me to be able to capture as many elements as possible. Mental health, depression, the struggle of the Caribbean communities or families in the Caribbean communities, it's very real. And oftentimes you might find that we either aren't aware how to deal with or help someone cope with most of these traumatic experiences that we might go through. We're oftentimes told to have a thick skin, a tough skin, and oftentimes our families suffer from these traumatic experiences, especially when they go unresolved. And then on the other hand, it's also an economic concern because not many persons who are aware that they are struggling can afford to get the professional help that they seek. So it was very important for me to capture all these elements that I have gone through in my life, as you mentioned, incarceration, teenage pregnancy, physical abuse, suffering with depression, suicide attempts, as being a single parent, now in a blended family, the list goes on and on. So it was very important for me just not to share my story, but also to provide the solutions that I've been able to incorporate in my own life and see the benefits over the years. And then as a Caribbean native, it was very important for me to share the story. So of course, not just our Caribbean family alone, but persons across the world can understand that even though I am an author, I'm just your regular average person. I've just gone through a lot of struggles, maybe a little bit more than others. So I wanted to make it as relatable as possible while offering the professional aspect of it. And based on the fact that again we're in the Caribbean, that religion plays a very big part in our society and in our lives. And so I was challenged and very honored to take the approach of taking a different look at religion, but a little bit beyond religion, more of spirituality, and tie that in with neuroscience. So that's pretty much it.
That's the difference, and that's what jumped out in your book, and why your book is also useful self-help manual for people who can't even afford psychiatric help, like you say,
Right.
or don't particularly want to be known to be seeking it. And that is recognizing. You have to recognize first that you have an illness.
Yeah.
It's no different from arthritis, heart disease, okay, or a broken ankle.
We do have actual mental illnesses, you know what I mean, when it comes on to probably a schizophrenia or, you know, an Alzheimer's or psychosis. But there's also a very dysfunctional way that we tend to approach our daily lives, and this brokenness literally has just come from how we were raised. So it's not even so much mental health issues that we're having sometimes, more than just a battle where we were raised a particular way, programmed a particular way, and how we were programmed just has created limiting beliefs in our lives, and so we're living in mediocrity. So oftentimes, you know, some of the times when you see someone, you know, who is depressed and struggling and stuff, sometimes it might not be mental illness, you know, literally it just might be an internal battle where they want more, they would like more, but how they were programmed, they're having difficulty putting the pieces together. And so that's what this whole thing is, you know. Let me see if I could help in any way, shape or form to help you to get your life in order. That's pretty much what this whole thing is. How can you live a better life without thinking that you're broken, without thinking, oh, there's something wrong with you, without even thinking that, oh, I have a mental health illness, you know. Just try and get your life in order, like taking responsibility and accountability for your own life.
So Kiki, this ties in, you know, with me immediately recognizing that you embraced and or drew upon two broad disciplines which arguably are often at odds. You see, science and religion. Are you torn between the two, or have you found a way to have both concepts coexist, as it were?
Yeah, I sure did. So you're right. When it comes on to religion versus science, there has been an ongoing, ongoing conflict, so to speak, of, you know, principles and beliefs. But then when I delve more into spirituality, and when I say spirituality, what that means is that religion oftentimes tend to put God, or the definition of God, in a box, and therefore religion also tends to protect their whatever their religious beliefs are about this divine being that they refer to as God. Spirituality kind of tears down all of those walls, and it's just your divine connection to source, that creator that created you. You have a direct connection to them. And then years later, science is now actually collaborating or even supporting our spiritual beliefs about source. So for example, in science, it's now proven that when we die, an energy field lingers in the room. Years ago, that would not have been possible, because science can only advance as much as technology allows it, right? So therefore, now science can prove that your energy field lingers in the room after you die. And I asked the question, what is that energy field? What is that energy, you know, that is lingering in the room? And I tend to believe that that's probably our spirit, you know, that's probably our soul. And therefore, if our soul is indeed a thing that keeps us alive, I am of the firm belief that that soul is also connected to source. So I believe that I'm walking around with the energy that is source, that created me every day.
Now, this point I wanted to get into more the formatting of the book and its content. Why did you elect the format chosen for the content? For example, story time, song, activity, you know, for the personal stories, and intersperse song references from musical artists. For example, Kelly Clarkson, Whitney Houston, Sam Cooke. And yes, I noticed, you know, the philosophical angle too, where you use quotations, you know, from Plato, Lao Tzu, you know, Maya Angelou. You know, tell us how you decided to use all of that and to present your content.
So I am a music lover. My father and my family actually owned a sound system back in the day, and I actually moonlight as a DJ. My husband is a DJ. One of my sons actually is a DJ. So music plays a very big part and role in my life, like I'm sure it does for so many people, especially from the Caribbean, you know. So with everything that I've gone through, with all the varying gamuts of emotions, just the emotions on various, spectrums, there's always a song that just kind of captures the essence of what I'm feeling. And so that's why I included the songs. And essentially, once I get clearance when I'm doing the audiobook, I actually want to have an accompanying soundtrack for the book, for the audiobook. So I'd love to be able to include those songs in there, just to bring it to life and to add something. And then when it comes on to the quotes, it's so easy for persons to hold on to quotes, because sometimes you just need 2 sentences to capture exactly what you're saying. And if I'm able to just draw a reference to that, it kind of reinforces what you might have already known before. And it kind of is a play on your short-term and long-term memory, So if it is that you read the chapter and you might not have gotten the essence of the chapter, the fact is, if you are familiar with this quote, and when you see the quote, then you can be like, oh yeah, that's what that whole chapter was about,
Kiki, I can imagine that I strongly suspect your favored books, authors, or genres probably fall into the self-transformational category, spirituality, neuroscience, but thought I'd still like to ask, what are the kinds of books and authors and genres that you like to read, even reading just for fun, and do you have a favorite author, one that influences you?
I do love a lot of self-help books. I love authors like Napoleon Hill, Robert Kiyosaki, Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, anything to do with psychology, anything to do with spirituality, Eckhart Tolle, so persons of that nature. And then currently on my list of books to get, I'd like to get Jeffrey Booth. He has a book called The Price of Tomorrow, which speaks of how technology essentially is going to eliminate the need for the human workforce. And when that happens, it's going to force us to completely look at how we function in a completely different way. So I think essentially we're going to end up where we started from. Remember when we used to just be self-sufficient and we could sustain ourselves, so we're probably going to end up right back there, food management, water resources and stuff. And then I also want to get Alicia Keys more myself. So those are authors that I'm looking forward to reading. But in my collection, you will definitely see a lot of books that have to do with parenting, love, psychology, neuroscience, even health, things of that nature.
Now last, what are the other literary projects that you're currently working on that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I'm actually gearing up to settle down and pen book 2, and book 2 will be about relationships. It's, life isn't ever, you're always evolving in life, and you can't remain stagnant. Like, the one constant in life is change. And so with all the lessons that I have learned since my last book 2 years ago, I'm ready to now pen another one, with the aim, as always, of serving and helping others in areas that they might need assistance. That's always my ultimate goal, is serving.
All right, everyone. And on that note, buckle up, get ready for Kiki's reading from her book, Discovering You.
As the prison door slammed shut behind me, I stood in line nervously waiting to hear why I had been pulled from my cell. I heard the officer scream my name. "Louis, what's your number?" 568-27053, I replied. In jail, I was no longer identified by my name, my personality, or my possessions. I was now identified by a number. "What are you here for?" she bellowed. Confused, I responded, "I'm not sure. I was pulled for a doctor's visit." My mind raced as I had been pulled with crack addicts and prostitutes, and I wondered if it had to do with my blood work. Confused, I turned around and headed towards the back of the line. Suddenly she remembered, and without hesitation she blurted out, "Oh, you pregnant. You keeping it or you throwing it away?" It was the winter of February 1999. I had just celebrated my 19th birthday 3 months earlier, and now here I was, a convict. After my arrest, I discovered a number of things about my character. The first was I was willing to accept responsibility for my actions. That was how my parents raised me. Furthermore, I was an only child. Who else would I blame? I learned that becoming comfortable with blaming others is a trap predisposed to kill or personal growth. The shame and guilt I felt was about my decision to transport drugs. Shame because I caused others pain, and guilt for the lives my decision would negatively impact.
Kiki, it has been an immense pleasure.
I enjoyed the book immensely, discovering you. I'd encourage all to please take a look and take a read. You'll find that you can't put it down once you pick it up. And Keri, thank you so much for participating with our CaliFest 2020.
Thank you.
Everyone in our audience, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. CaliFest 2020, our virtual edition, is not over by any means. We still have author interviews, panels, workshops, and the Kids Village ongoing. Go to califest.org and head to the events and navigate from there for anything else you'd like to participate in. We have another treat that's coming. Afternoon Jam, folks. DJ Kiki. Yes, Kiki wears another hat, and she will be spinning some Caribbean rhythms for us. Come back today, 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.